Hey all, Steve from GuitarNiche here. Well, we're gonna see if we can't intonate this lovely Epiphone Dot Pro Series. Let me hang on a second. It is a Dot ES-335 Pro CH, which would be cherry. Okay. Anyway. So the client brought it in, and one of the first things I noticed was the intonation was out of whack. I mean, there were other issues, I should say, electronically. The jack had fallen in, etc. So anyway, just needed a little going over. But this video is going to be about intonation, and I got more than enough to say about intonation. A lot of opinions. Right or wrong, doesn't matter, because I've been doing it for decades, same processes, and they work. I have to stick to my guns on this. I will say one thing though. During the process of trying to make this video, I thought, you know what, I'm going to get a nice clip-on tuner. This is a Peterson tuner, and Peterson is known for being one of the better strobe type tuners. And I'm not going to bash it. I mean, it's wonderful as a headstock tuner, but it simply does not, it can't sense the same material that this absolutely archaic, old school analog tuner can. It probably has everything to do with the, wired input versus, simple vibration. I mean, this is a nice tuner. It really is. I paid, some decent money for this, and it does what it does very well. But it doesn't do what this does. Now, I'm going to show you, rather than, getting off on a tangent with the, digital versus clip-ons and plugins, blah, 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 blah. Lots of, material there to explore. But I'll get on with the show here. And I'm going to explain my process. So what I have here with this guitar is a fresh set of 10 gauge strings. The setup is basically done. Everything is done except for the actual intonation. So the bridge height has been set. Tailpiece is, whether you'd subscribe to wraps or not, the tailpiece has been set to accommodate the angle here. The nut has been cut. Relief has been set. The strings have been stretched. So everything is optimal. The only real little variable here I might have, which is really not going to be that big a deal, is pickup height. And I'm going to cover that in a separate video. Okay, pickup height's not going to make a big deal with a plug-in type of a tuner like this. Okay, so anyway, I just noticed that the bridge, the treble side of the bridge pickup here was a little bit tight, and I don't want that messing things up. Anyway, so I'm going to start. I'm just going to go through the process, and I'm going to do it the way I do it, and I'll make some comments as I go along. As I said, strings are stretched out, etc., etc. And by the way, critical comment here, you can't get accurate intonation without absolutely fresh strings. The strings have to be farm fresh, stretched out with their full life ahead of them. Anything other than that, not a few hours, weeks, days, a year. Oh, they've only been on there for a few weeks. That's garbage. That's absolute garbage. You can't intonate strings on your guitar unless they are absolutely fresh. There's no way around it. Because anything else, any kind of degradation whatsoever, whether it's from, dirt, sweat, wear, anything, is a question mark. And it will foul your readings. It will influence your readings, and you'll have to keep doing it over and over, and you'll be chasing a ghost if you try to do it with old strings. Simple as that. I've done it, and I'm not going back. The only cure, again, I got to reiterate this, I got to be real strong on this. The only way to intonate strings is with fresh strings that have been stretched out, and the instrument has to be in playable setup condition. I got to be very, very firm on this because this is experience talking, okay? Anyway, on with the process. I'm going to start with the A string, and I'm not going to do the open string 12th fret stuff. You know why? Well, I'll tell you a little story. It's very brief. Years ago, I discovered that, you know what? If a string is off tolerance, or if a nut is not cut properly, or a saddle's not cut properly, or the frets aren't in the right space or places, your readings are just not going to work. So the way I found to focus the best readings, all things considered, all variables considered, was to use harmonics. So what I'm doing, this is the 5th string, 5th fret. That is a D harmonic, okay? And if you listen to that, oops, and then I go up here, it's essentially the same tone and pitch. Tone is a little bit different, but the pitch is the same. What this does is it eliminates the nut factor. It eliminates other things, but you know, it's still dependent on the bridge. By the way, the radius of the bridge has been set too, so I'm not going to have to mess with that. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is look at where does that D register, the harmonic, and where does the natural fretted D register. And there's a slight, very slight difference. I love this analog needle. The analog needle, this is a cheap ass tuner, but the analog function is just absolutely amazing. There's something to be said for simplicity, I gotta tell you. So down the neck is that position, up the neck is flat, which means the scale length is short. That's the key. I want to raise that higher note. Oops. Oh, there goes my screwdriver. Okay, and now whether it's exactly on 0 or not, it doesn't really matter, as long as you get exactly the same position both times. You know, it could be over 0, it could be under 0, it could be splitting the 0, whatever, doesn't matter. As long as you get exactly the same registration point both times. Very close. Maybe just a hair flat. Sorry, I gotta grab that screwdriver. Okay. And we're back. I'm trying to keep things tight here for recording. So I'm going to go just slightly sharp again. About a half a turn of the screw there. Okay, what I just did there was I snapped the string and just and not in the literal sense, but I'm letting the string settle in to an adjustment. So by turning that screw, this is moved. Any bound up pressure or anything is released by just doing that, okay? So there's my D. I might as well get it up to... Sorry, I gotta explain that. Anytime I turn a key while I'm intonating, this is a force of habit I developed, again, a long time ago. Snap the string, because the string is, the tension has changed. It's going over the nut, it's going over the saddle. You want to settle the string before you commit to the intonation point or the readings. Still slightly flat on the there. And I'm using what I would consider normal finger pressure. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. And I'm in a sitting position, not resting the guitar flat on a bench or anything like that. Gravity has an effect on this stuff. There's another video I did on that. But this, one way of doing it, and the other thing is I'm using the bridge pickup just to, because it's a more focused output, so it doesn't have as much bloom and content as the neck. So using the bridge is a little bit more effectual. Now, just for cross-reference, I'll show you this, okay? And you'll notice that this is only 6 notes. It's not chromatic. It doesn't register every note under the sun. You don't need that. You really don't need that. At the end of the day, either the thing is intonated or it's not. It's as simple as that. Okay, so I'm at the 2nd fret. I'm going to do a B. There. And there. Look at that. Pretty accurate. I'm happy with that. And yeah, so that's that. If I want to go one step further, I'll do the E, which is the 7th fret on the A string. And there you go. I'm very sensitive about, or very aware about, the amount of pressure I'm using to fret the note, because let's take, for instance, the 7th fret on the A string, okay? So now heat's starting to play a factor here, okay? We'll bring that up just a hair. Try to split this. See, it moved a little bit, okay? Beauty, there we go. So we're bang on the middle. I went through a whole bunch of processes there. I'm not going to go through them. It's if you get the point, you get the point. But anyway, if I play that note, and then I'm just going to squeeze it a little bit, and then I'm going to release it a little bit. There's natural finger pressure. Squeeze it a little bit, release it a little bit. You see that needle moving? You know, you might not see that on some tuners, less sensitive tuners specifically, like some of the clip-ons. They simply won't register that to the same fine degree, okay? Anyway, there is an absolute ton of information I want to try to pass on here, but I'm going to try to be explicit. Now, from that point, I know that my A is registered. By the way, I'm sorry, I gotta back up for a second here. I'm gonna go back to the D, okay? And I wanna make a point of something. It's a little on the high side, but they're registering the same, which is fine. That's great. If, by registering different points, different, common notes along the same string, I can start to get a sense of there's an issue here. There's something, either it's not right with the nut, or the saddle, or the string is off. Really interesting phenomenon is going through this process and not being to get any of these higher frets to get anywhere near an intonatable point. That is 100% a surefire sign that you have a bad string, period. I've seen it way too many times. Anyway, keep that in mind. Again, let's go to, I'm going to do one more. I'm going to do the, well, no, I'll start with this. Okay, so now that I have the A string registered, the rest of these saddles have to follow a predictable pattern. If they don't, and don't ever let anybody tell you different, if they don't follow a predictable stepped pattern, you have issues either with the nut, the saddles, or the strings. The exception there is with a wound G, you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row, and then a back step, and then 2 in a row. But on typical electric guitars, you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now you'll see here that B, or sorry, the B string is compared to the high E and the G. Well, this series doesn't quite look right, does it? Okay, it's not unilateral or evenly stepped, I should say. One of my favorite techniques with the B string is to actually use a D. A D is such a common note with just general guitar playing. And just, okay, so that's just a tad high. Close enough, eh? Now, and I'm not using a harmonic on that because there's no need. It's such a fine note. It's on the wound strings that I really want to pay attention to that. And you see that's slightly flat, which means that particular note has to come up. The other thing I want to point out here, this is going to be a little bit of a longer video, but you see that? There's going to be some slop in that saddle, so I always try to push the saddle forward to keep the forward pressure on it and keep the slop out of it. Okay, and I'm just visually referencing that. I'm happy with that. Double check with an E, which is literally just a tone away. And I'm happy with that too. Okay, now I'll show you again. If I just take that note and I just squeeze it a little bit, I'm just squeezing a little bit, and you can see that needle reacts to it. Squeeze, let go, squeeze. Oh, it died. But up here, it's very, very sensitive. If I squeeze that, look at that. That's because the deflection between the finer frets is going to have more of an effect. Look at that. Crazy. You know? Anyway, again, the point is finger pressure, consistent finger pressure, as if you were, you know, playing around and etc. etc. Not this, you know, really super light or just getting the note. No. Intonate like you're playing. Okay, it makes all the difference in the world. Anyway, so I know that B string is where it needs to be, and to expedite the process, I'm going to preset the other strings because I can anticipate where they should be. I hope you can see all this. Wow, that G is way back there. Okay. I know I'm going to have to retweak some of this stuff. It's not looking too bad. We're in the ballpark. The thing is, we're in the ballpark, and that makes all the difference. Okay. So visually, what I'm seeing as I look down through here, I want to see relatively even steps, and then like a step back for the G, and then relatively even steps again. Now something is not quite right here, and I'm going to have to figure out what that is. Okay. We'll get to that. I'll make here's a tip. If you can hang on to this. This is a set of 10s. A standard set of 10s in a properly set up guitar will go from the low E, step to the A, step to the D, but the D is slightly, ever so slightly back. Then we go to the G. Okay, so we're reset, we come back a significant amount to the G string, step up to the D, or sorry, the B, and then the E string. The E string will also be slightly fractionally back. So you have kind of a arc, but it's very, very slight. That's a set of 10s. A set of 9s will be boom, 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 even. Boom, 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 even. If those things don't match. Anyway, it's all good. What am I checking here? I'm going to check my third string, or third fret at the G. Okay, see if that register is the same. So that's not quite right. So that's saying it's sharp, which visually makes a lot of sense to me. So there we go. Good. Okay. Now the G string I'm going to be hypersensitive on because it's a very wrangly, popular string, etc., etc. It can be a little tricky to tame down. And it's very hypersensitive to heat. See that? Yeah, see, I knew there was going to be a problem there. That's way sharp. So I'm going to back that off. Just a fraction, and then push that forward. As long as I'm within tolerance, that's great. And we're talking like very, very small amount. Totally happy with that. And here's an A on the same string. Good, happy with that. The G string can be fussy because it's a compound string. This is the 5th fret, which is actually a G pitch. Going back to harmonics. And I'm going to say that that is slightly sharp. And back that off just a hair, push it forward to keep pressure on it. Take the slop out. As long as it registers in the same spot, I'm a happy camper. Great. For as rudimentary as this tuner is, it's brilliant. It's actually almost a, I hate to use the term, but it's almost like using a tuner Nazi. It's unforgiving. It does not lie. It's all about, your interpretations. Okay. Lower strings, round strings, use those harmonics. Look at that. Just a tad flat. I'm going to bring that up just a touch, just like exactly like it should be. Great, I'm happy with that. Now I'm gonna just fine tune this. Just because the tuner says one thing, my ears have to be the end of the line. Either it sounds right or it doesn't. The tuner is just going to get me, the intonation and everything in the ballpark. And here's the final thing. Stacked fifths or fourths at the... If that does not sound harmonious, nothing is... You got to go back and redo it. This is a personal tip that I've never ever shared with anybody. This is a nice guitar. That just rings. Man, that's great. Headstock's been broken off twice. And the guy loves it so much he just repaired it. Had it repaired twice. It's ugly, but it works. Anyway, that's my take on intonation. It's all good. Ringing like a bell. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. Use the harmonics, get around certain issues. You know, they serve their purposes, etc., etc. Lots more to discuss on that, but I can only elaborate one stupid thought at a time. I mean, you know, there's so much info crammed in my head. It's just a spew. Whether you get something out of that, I certainly hope you do. But anyway, I have a lot more to say on that, believe it or not. And we'll come back to that when the time is right. Thanks for coming out. I hope you enjoyed that. And on with the show. And let's carry on. Anyway, thanks a bunch. Like and subscribe. Have a great day.